friends. It's nighttime here, and I can't sleep because as I was getting my bath ready with all my bath salts and my special nighttime stuff, my phone pinged and I realized a new podcast was released by the Sojo Files. It's funny because I just finished my last video called Bobby Holt and the Darkness in the Duggars. In this video, I cite and rely heavily on the Sojo Files. I talk about how much I love that podcast. The Sojo Files is a podcast created by a woman in Arkansas who has a strong interest in local cases and trials. She attended the Josh Duggar trial and attempted to write out a partial transcript for anyone who was interested in getting more information. She then read the transcripts on her podcast. If you are interested in information about this case or other cases in Arkansas, please check out the Sojo Files. You would love her. She has a no-nonsense attitude and tells it like it is. And she's got a great voice to listen to before bed. So, it turns out she's going to try to do a series on her podcast about Duggar super sources. Basically, these are acquaintances and friends who have been around the Duggars or worked with them, and she's going to interview them and get more information from behind the scenes. Today, she released a podcast about the story of Jen Rochelle. Jen is a former babysitter of the Duggars, and of course I listened to the whole podcast while I was taking my hot bath, and it was heaven. Let me start by saying Jen makes it clear she was never hurt or victimized by the Duggars. She actually said she knows who Jane Doe number 5 is, and she is not a babysitter. She is choosing to protect that girl's identity out of respect, obviously. So getting back to Jen. Jen is from Rogers, Arkansas. She talks about her background. Her mother got divorced and remarried to a man who brought her family into the homeschool world. Her mom started staying home and wanted to homeschool the kids. And Jen says that she loved homeschooling. She thought it was the coolest thing ever because they got to wake up and they would stay in their pajamas all day long. She loved going on field trips and being around so many kids. She says there was a large homeschool community in Northwest Arkansas and everyone was friendly to each other. And this is how she ended up meeting many fundamentalist families. Her best friend was an ATI and IBLP, and this led to her meeting the Duggars. Jen thought it was really cool to be part of this community, mainly because there were so many kids, so many people to play with, kids of every age. Kids were just running around everywhere and playing, she said. She talks about an amazing 4th of July parade. Michelle and Jen's mom were pregnant at the same time, and they just all became very friendly. Jen's first impression of the Duggar world was, it was a good experience. There were lots of young parents, tons of kids, lots of fun, everyone playing outside. She has really fond memories of the beginning of her homeschool journey. But as she got older, it did start to shift. As they became involved with the fundy world, she started to struggle with all the strict rules. There was kind of like a slow, insidious introduction of overwhelming rules involving clothing, makeup, how you would speak, music, all kinds of things. Jen was 15 when Josh Duggar literally told her he didn't like mascara because he had been told it was made from bat poop. Hilarious, right? These are the kind of things that stick with you when you're a kid. Jen also talks about how Santa Claus was thought of as the devil in the Duggars' house and in other households that she was a part of. Kids talked about how Santa Claus has similar letters to Satan. She stated that the Duggars didn't want to talk about Santa Claus around Christmas, and she thinks this is really ironic because lately they have changed their ways. As she saw in a video this past Christmas, they did have Santa at the Duggars' house. Jen really wanted to fit in, so she started trying to follow a lot of the rules, wear long dresses and all that kind of stuff. When Jen was a teenager, she started babysitting for the Duggars over a couple of summers at the Duggars' old house in Springdale. She would babysit the Duggar siblings. Other kids were there too, sometimes even her siblings were there. Jen went on the campaign trail with the Duggars as a babysitter. She really enjoyed it, got sick on the trip, lots of kids got car sick. She said they did some camping in cabins and that it was fun other than the car sickness. Jen makes it clear, nothing bad ever happened while she was there. She spent the night at the Duggars' house. She even had her own small room. She says there was a bunk bed in it. She never noticed or saw anything inappropriate happen. She talks about her main concerns during her babysitting just really being about how to get the kids, all these kids, to sleep at night. That was one of her jobs. She tells an anecdote about how she made up this story about a little bunny and she would tell it to the Duggar kids every night. She says the kids loved frozen burritos from Aldi. She talks about cooking hundreds of chicken nuggets for the family at a rally they were having for something political. She basically says that it was very chaotic, but it could also be really fun. She expresses a lot of frustration about when she found out what happened to the Duggar girls. She said that she had no idea what was going on at the time. She loved the kids. She loved the kids and ended up fully leaving the church and kind of blazing her own path. She said it was hard to break out of the mindset of the church. She got married and then divorced from a man who was actually cheating on her. She said she kept asking herself what she did wrong and was kind of like thinking it was all her fault. She came to the conclusion that the conservative lifestyle just wasn't meant for her, and she went to college. She actually wrote a book about her experiences, and it's going to be released soon, and her name is Jen Rochelle, and she's going to come back on the Sojo Files and talk about the book in another episode. So definitely go check out your podcast and subscribe to the Sojo Files. It was interesting hearing a lot of these positives and kind of like a normal home atmosphere, but with way too many kids. That's kind of what was going on from Jen's point of view within the Duggar household. I am so excited that the Sojo Files podcast is going to go forward with more of these interviews, so please check it out. Also, for those of you who haven't tuned into some of my other videos, I just want to give you a little heads up on the foster kittens we've been taking care of. The littlest one, the runt, is doing so much better. I'm so happy for him. Thank you so much to everyone who wrote in, left comments, emailed me, or sent me down a rabbit hole onto some other people's Facebook pages and YouTube channels where I learned a lot of new information about fostering. Also, we realized finally that the kitten did need to have some special medicine, and I took him pretty far away, about 2 hours away, to a vet that had the shot available. He received the shot about 48 hours ago, and he is doing so much better. I really appreciate all of you who helped out. Thank you for taking the time to help the little kitten. I really appreciate it. Okay guys, I'm heading off to bed, hoping my new video of the halts will be out of YouTube prison soon and I can finally share it with you tomorrow. I hope you guys have a great day.